Hey, this is Ponce again. I'm doing a mastery page preview for this upcoming Season 3 patch thing, the Nami patch. There are a lot of changes. The masteries are completely different. So basically, I'll be reviewing every single tree here, just very quickly. And I'm not really going to talk about builds or theoretical. I can do this with X Champion too much. I give you the straight up numbers here, and you can figure out stuff on your own. So let's just start off with the offensive tree. I'd say it's probably the one that's changed the least, although it's changed a lot, so it's hard to say which one's changed the least. But let's start off with the first row. Basically, Butcher, basic attacks deal 2 bonus damage to minions and monsters. That's exactly the same. Same with Summoner's Wrath. It looks the same to me. Fury and Sorcery, the stuff that increased attack speed and cooldown reduction, has been moved up to the first tier, so that's no longer in the second tier. And the basic ability power and attack damage thing have been removed, it looks like, or folded into other things. So let's just get some points in here so I can move on to the next tree. Deadliness, 3, basically if you max it out at 4 points you get 18 attack damage at level, or 12 attack damage at level 18. That's been shuffled around a bit. Same with Blast, that's the ability power one. That normally came later, I think, but yeah, both these things have been moved. The penetration, I think it used to be 10%. Now they've been nerfed to 8% because how penetration works changed now. That's a completely separate issue. So I don't know if it's a nerf or a buff. It's probably a buff, actually, in the long run. But I'm not here to speculate about that, because let's look at destruction from now. This increases damage to turrets by 2.5% per point, maxes out at 5%, so that's a change in how the masteries work in interaction with turrets a bit. Then we have Havoc, that's the same as before. It's increased damage by 2%. I think it's the same. It's just been moved around a bit. Let's free up some points. Next we have Spell Sword. Now this is a completely new mastery. Let's take a look at this one. This is neat. Deals 5% of your ability power in magic damage to the target on basic attacks. So that might have some interesting usage. I guess making your auto attacks a bit more useful on AP carries, sort of like Dota style, I guess, is the idea there, a little bit anyway. So next we have Mental Force. That's the same. It's just your straight ability power buff thing. I think that was there before. We have Brute Force. Oh no, these used to be in Tier 1. They may have been adjusted a bit, but they've been moved around. Like, I think the numbers are tweaked. I'm not sure. You'll have to look at that yourself. It's for 2 points you get 3 attack damage, and for 4 points you get 6 ability power, and that's in Tier 4. Next we have Lethality. That's 10% or 5% critical strike damage, 10% from melee champions, so that's been reworked a bit. And it leads into something completely different called Frenzy, which grants 10% attack speed for 2 seconds after you land a crit. So that might have some interesting potential with the AP or AD carries. Next we have Sunder. That's basically the same. It just doesn't tie into any ability later on. It's 5... actually, I don't think it ever tied into anything. Anyway, it's 5 armor penetration for 3 points. That used to be 6, I think, but now it's 5. That's a slight nerf, but then again, penetration worked completely differently now on this patch, assuming they've introduced the changes they were talking about. So it's hard to comment on that. Archmage, that looks roughly the same. I think it may have gone down by 1%. I don't know. It's 5% now, whatever it was before. It was very close. And Executioner is now slightly different. Just the numbers have been tweaked a bit. It increases damage dealt by 5% for targets below 50% health instead of, I think it was 60% on targets below 30% health, something like that. It's similar. So it's roughly the same. It serves the same function. Now let's return those points there, and let's move on to the defense tree. This one seems to have seen a lot of changes as well. The basic resilience and hardiness, the things that provide armor and magic resist, have been moved down a tree, and things have been moved up. The things that interact with summoner spells is basically the same, except now barrier is increased by 20. That looks like a flat 20, so I don't know how good that is. I don't think that was there before. Next we have Perseverance. Perseverance grants up to... At 3 points, it grants up to 6 health regen per 5 seconds based on missing health. So basically, it's like a slightly better regen if you've more damage on you. I like that. I think it promotes aggressive play. So the more aggressive you are, you get a better heal return for it. So that's kind of neat. Then we have the 108 health at level 18 thing that was there before. It just moved up a tree. And tough skin is still in the game. I thought they said they were going to remove that, but apparently it's still there. So hardiness and resistance only go up to +5 each. Didn't they used to be 6 before? I can't remember, but I think, yeah, that's been slightly nerfed. If not, I'm mistaken. Who knows? Unyielding reduces damage taken from champions by 1. That used to be damage reduced from all sources by 1. Okay, so they've changed that. You still take the extra damage from minions. I think what it used to be like everything. It was just flat damage. This is new here. Relentless reduces the effectiveness of slows by 7.5% per point at maximum 15%. Veteran Scars, exactly the same. Safeguard reduces damage taken from turrets by 5%. That might have some useful applications. Freudian slip could be useless, who knows. But let's move on to Tier 4. Next we have Block. You can put 1 point into it and reduces damage taken from champion basic attacks by 3. So it looks like by speccing into it you can become more tough against champion damage, but taking less damage from neutral creeps and minions has been nerfed. So they don't want you freezing lanes, I guess, by just endlessly tanking minions. This is new here. Tenacious. Put 3 points into it. It's 5 points per point. 5% per point. Maxes out at 15%. Reduces the duration of crowd control effects by 15%. Stacks whatever, I can never pronounce that damn word. Anyway, with tenacity. So basically what that means is it doesn't you don't add tenacity. You have 35 with merc treads. It's not going to just stack onto it and then you get 50% by adding 15 to 35. What you're going to get is like this weird formula where you get the base 35 from merc treads and then you get some less percent from the 15. But actually, that's interesting because it'll actually push you over the cap of the merc treads 35 tenacity. So you'll basically, it's almost like everyone can be singed alt. I guess that's kind of how it works. Juggernaut increases your maximum health by up to 4% at 3 points. I think that's new. I don't recall that being there before. There's another completely new spell here. Defender grants 1 armor and magic resist for each nearby enemy champion. That is very interesting. It turns everyone, I guess, into like sort of who's the champion that has a passive like that? Aurelia? No, Aurelia's tenacity. Whatever. There's some champion. There's something like that. Increases, let's see now, legendary armor increases bonus armor and magic resist by 1.25%. So basically, the more you spec into armor, at 4 points, it's 5 extra percent. So that could be significant. Let's see now, tanks, or like a really beefy tank might have like 200 armor, 200 magic resist or something. So that would give you 10 extra armor and magic resist. So that's not bad. It's not great. I mean, how often do you have that much armor and magic resist? But it could be useful. We'll see. Good Hands. That used to be Tier 1 in utility, but it's been moved up to 1 point. It just outright grants you 10% less time spent dead. I don't know how that'll work in the builds. It looks kind of like filler to me, but we'll see. Reinforced Armor reduces damage taken from critical strikes by 5%, 2 points by 10%. So I think that's completely new. Honor Guard reduces damage taken from all sources by 3%. That is the old 21st point in defense, or final tier in defense. It's similar. Then season 2 they changed it so that was the tier before that and you put a bunch of points into it. So that's a kind of a new final tier for defensive, I believe. Okay, let's return all the points and look at our final tree here. Utility. So Summoner's Insight, this just interacts with Summoner spells. It doesn't look different. I don't see anything off the top of my head that looks different. Could be wrong. Wanderer. This is interesting. The movement speed used to be Tier 2, and it's been changed as well. Slightly, it's actually been nerfed quite a bit. Grants 2% increased movement speed when out of combat. So basically, it kind of acts like Misfortune's passive. It's no longer a flat thing that you just get all the time, which is unfortunate, I guess. But utility in general seems to be buffed, so we'll see. Meditation, that's the same. It's the mana regen thing. The recall thing is exactly the same. Artificer reduces the cooldowns of activated abilities by 7.5% per point, maxing out 15%. That's interesting. That might have some applications on support. Could be useful, you know, 15% faster Shirelias, stuff like that. This is extra mana per level. That doesn't seem to be changed. It might be a bit more mana than before. I can't remember. Numbers might have been tweaked. Mastermind, this is the old tier 3 thing. So it costs 3 points now. But it's in tier 2. So summoner spells reduced by 10% for 3 points. Scout, this has been changed. Wards gain 25% increased vision range for the first 3 seconds after placing them. So it's no longer a flat increase in range. I think it was 5% before all the time. It's just right as you place them, you get this huge ward range. That's kind of weird. I don't know how useful that is, but it could have some applications. Who knows? Requires some testing. Greed, the GP5 thing, I think that's the same. Runic Affinity, has that been increased by 5%? Was it 15 or 20% before? In any case, it's roughly the same. Still in the same tier, I believe. Strength of Spirit grants up to 1 health per 5 seconds for each 400 mana you possess, goes up to 3. So that's interesting. They've changed how that works a little bit, I think. It used to be a percent thing, and now they've just given you the raw numbers. So basically, if you have 2,000 mana, you would get 15 HP per 5. That's roughly how that works. Now this one's kind of interesting. Biscuiteer, put 1 point into it. Start the game with a regenerative biscuit that restores 80 health and 50 mana over 10 seconds. So basically, you start with some kind of like a hybrid, a purple pot, I guess you'd call it. It looks like wealth has been slightly buffed. I don't think it gave you 50 gold for 2 points before. It was like some weird number, but it's been slightly buffed, I think. Experience, I never took that, so I don't know if this has been buffed or nerfed, or it's the same. But it's, you know, still serves the same function. Lifesteal, Vampirism, Lifesteal, and Spell Vamp have been combined. This used to be in the offensive tree, but now Spell Vamp and Lifesteal are combined into one tree in the utility tree, so that's interesting. Might give like a reason for non-supports to go into utility. That could be neat. We'll see. We have Explorer. This is completely new. Comes out of Biscuiteer. On Summoner's Rift, grants a ward at the start of the game that can be placed to reveal the summoning or the surrounding area for 60 seconds. On all other maps, grants 25 starting gold. So basically, it gives you a really crappy ward right off the bat. It could be neat. Supports, I can see taking that if they can fit the points into this new support mastery tree. There's a lot to take right now. Pickpocket. Now this is the one I really like. This one looks really neat. I wish I could take this on everyone, but grants 5 gold for melee champions and 3 gold for ranged champions each time you perform a basic attack against an enemy champion. 5-second cooldown, so you can't get super high attack speed and, you know, get tons and tons of gold. But yeah, that promotes. It's basically looking to promote aggressive play. I really like that. Stick it on a support. That's how I like to play support. So I like to harass a lot. So I'll be making money off this thing when I play support. Looks like. Intelligence. Let me get some points back here. I ran out of points. Intelligence. This is a flat cooldown reduction. No change there. And Nimbleness grants 3% increased movement speed, and that's the final tier. That seems kind of underwhelming because it basically replaced an old tier 2 thing, but it's for 1 point. So, yeah, that's the new mastery pages here. Hope you found that informative. That's all I have to say on this. I'll have a lot more videos coming out documenting as many changes as I can in this Season 3 update patch that just came out on the public test realm. It came out about, I think, 30 minutes ago, maybe less. So look ahead for my Nami Spotlight thing where I'll be playing on a real game. And there's a lot of item changes. I think that'll be my next video. There are a lot of new items. So I'll try and get as much as that possible. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I hope you enjoy fiddling with the new mastery pages when you get a chance to, because this is some neat stuff here. I look forward to theory crafting in the days to come.